It's now time for the #1 podcast in iHeartRadio. It's Your House is Key, the podcast that opens the door to your dream home. Hosted by the remarkable Danelle Shepard, he's your trusted guide in the world of real estate. Whether you're buying your first home, selling your current one, or simply curious about the market, this podcast is your one-stop shop for all things real estate. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and my good friend, Danelle Shepard.
Welcome back to your favorite podcast. It is your favorite realtor, Danelle Shepard. And as always, with me, Your House is Key. And today, I have a special guest here today. Tell them about yourself, sir. Who are you?
My name is Tom Deutsch. I'm a home inspector. I started my company, Deutsch Home Inspection, and I'm glad to be here.
All right. But how long have you been in business, Tom?
I've been in business 4 years.
Okay.
I did a lot of renovation work before that, and then decided I wanted to put my communication skills to use in addition to the building skills.
So you took your talents elsewhere.
I did. I did.
That's what the athletes do, so why not, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so listen, we want to dive in. I know you guys seen another episode before we talked about inspections, but now I want to get deeper into inspections. And what you guys don't realize is, again, even if you paid attention to the last one, I'm always harp on the fact that they are important. We're not going to skip them. We're not going to miss them. We guys got that. But now to the nitty gritty. So up first, some people think inspections, Tom, are only like to hurt the seller when it comes to price, right?
Right.
But have you ever seen an inspection that actually helps the seller and truly justify the price tag that they're asking for?
Well, there's a couple of situations where that can work in the not necessarily in the seller's favor, but sometimes it is in the seller's favor. Sometimes you'll get a pre-listing inspection.
Okay.
Where, you know, I'll come in and I'll do an inspection right before they list the property. And if the house, especially they're fairly infrequent. So this doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
So if a house is kept in really good shape, especially, I've done a number of these where you'll come in and you'll document the condition the house is in. And if it's in fantastic shape, then you're showing that. That helps put people in peace of mind and a good frame of mind when they're shopping. And even if they come through and then consequently they do an inspection as well, usually that person won't find much more than I've already found.
Okay.
And then they get a lot of confidence about, I've made a good offer, especially in a seller's market like we're in. You know, people are looking for a reason to spend that money, right? They're looking for a reason to step up and, you know, and stay worth it. It's worth it, right? Yeah. So that's one way. But then, like you said, the other way, it's just, you know, sometimes there's just not a lot of material things wrong with the house. So you're, again, you're providing that peace of mind to the buyer. If I'm coming through, I'm calm, I'm taking my time. They see that happening. Then they see that, yeah, my offer that I made, it's going to stand up because, you know, the appliances look like they're newer or performing well. I heard from Tom that the place looks well maintained.
Right.
Those kinds of things can help justify. And I'm not doing that to, you know, like bolster the sale. I do that to give them to give the people to give my clients a complete frame of reference on what the house looks like, right? So that they have a real good picture, not just about the details, but about how the house has been kept over the years.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we know, right? Inspections are very detailed and they're long, like 60, 70 pages long, but they also have limits, right?
Yeah.
So what are some things in an inspection, even as many details, drones, photos, pictures, walkthroughs, rain, no rain, sun, what are some things you just can't catch in an inspection?
Right. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I don't have X-ray eyes.
So, are you sure? I thought inspectors was like superheroes.
We train for that, but they don't give us superpowers, and we can't drill through walls. We don't saw walls down. So, so what we can't see, obviously, is not going to be able to be found, right? Sometimes you have inspection limitations. Like if you've got a house that's got a lot of stuff in it and you can't get
Like
to something.
clutter.
If you got a lot of clutter in a house, if your seller hasn't moved stuff out of the way and I can't move their stuff, I'll move a box here or there. I might take a risk with that, but I'm not supposed to touch anything.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, there's times when it makes it difficult to take a look at everything. So things can be hidden, behind walls. You can find a leak. Sometimes you have a lot of leaks are really slow, right? So they build up moisture over time and then they cause damage over time. And that's the kind of thing that shows up later.
And so, first of all, people, please clean up. If you're getting an inspection, sellers, please don't, because I know from my side, sometimes, not all, but there has been times where a buyer may have felt like, what are they trying to hide? Because I can't get to this section. And that's not always the case. It's literally, I'm moving, trying to find a house while you're moving, trying to find a house. So in that case, right, are you allowed to go back, or do you go back and say, hey, quote unquote, insufficient data, if I can get access back, I'll come back, or once you deliver a report, that's it?
No, it's not. It can be it. I mean, it depends on the client,
right?
What they're going to do. So if we're missing something important, if I couldn't get the electrical box, and it's an older house,
that's important.
So you're in an older house, and you've got I can see from a distance that it might be an older electrical box, and we're not going to look at it,
right?
Because it's got 2 cabinets in front of it, and I just can't reach it. Well, that would be a situation where I would probably have to make a return trip for something like that. But sometimes there are things where the client just decides, you weren't able to get into this part of the attic. We'll let that slide.
Right.
We're not gonna tell them, you got to go up and clean out your attic, and then you got to pay for the inspector to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's good to know.
Yeah.
So now, tell me of it, or have you had a time, again, out of your 60 pages, because they're thorough. Out of your inspection process, have you ever had one that was what we consider perfect, right? Because there's always something with a house, but we're going to say a perfect, like, hey, if I had it, I would buy it myself. So you had that situation where it's a perfect home and nothing was on the report, but then you find out, or they call and say, hey, you missed something because something just happens to pop up. Like, have you ever dealt with that?
Yeah, I've dealt with a couple of times where things have come up within, 3 months, 6 months, a year later.
Sounds like maintenance.
Right. This is not a warranty. I am not offering a guarantee. But yeah, sometimes things will happen. So I've had a couple of instances where leaks occur after the inspection. So I can only inspect the day that I'm there.
Right.
It's the status of the house, the day and the minute that I'm there.
Right.
If it's not raining for 3 weeks before I'm there, and it doesn't rain for 3 weeks after, and you move in and then it starts to rain and you get a leak somewhere, I may not have been able to find that. Now,
right.
I may have, because if I'm up in the attic, and if that leak was already present, I might see signs,
stains or something.
Yeah.
So like there could be, but I'm pointing this out to you.
Right.
Right.
And you never know when that water heater's going to quit or that furnace is going to quit. So sometimes
it's hard, right?
And I get it. This is an emotional time for the client, right?
Right.
So, and they're not necessarily trained in building, nor should they have to be. And they shouldn't have to be, DIY experts. They shouldn't have to have that knowledge. So I understand, and I try to walk them through what I'm able to see and what I'm not. So I get it when somebody pays for an inspection and they pay a lot for a house and they move in and then something goes wrong, they're going to get upset, right? So
it's two people that go call.
We just try to help them.
They go call the realtor and the inspector and be like,
realtor.
What happened? Well, listen.
Right.
Let's go back and read this report.
That's right.
So I want to kind of back up. You did mention something, right? You talked about having a pre-inspection and obviously a post or during inspection. Is it safe to say when people, because some people agree, some people don't agree, to have a pre-listing inspection?
Right.
It is the individual, is what you discuss, you and your realtor, or just you on your own. Are inspections like beauty? Is it like in the eyes of the beholder? If you come in, and I think you kind of answer, but I actually just want to just ask it, right? Like, can you go in and do an inspection on Monday at 3, right? You're done at 5, and somebody come back Tuesday at 8 a.m. and find things completely different? Like, how do inspections work? Or is it I don't want to say a common knowledge, because common and common sense,
Yeah, right.
Right.
No. So yeah, we can do pre-listing inspections. They're pretty rare. It's usually like, I would like 1 in 100 homes that sell get a pre-listing inspection. Generally what I do for people is I come in a few months before they put it up for listing.
Okay.
And I'll
like
do
a punch list, like
punch list.
Okay.
And I'll do a walkthrough or a punch list inspection with them that's not even part of the transaction.
Okay.
So it's not really even covered under that. It's not technically a home inspection. And
it's really a
it's a
to-do
consultation.
list. See, and that's knowledge. So that's something I didn't know.
They can come through and they'll come in and they'll knock out a few things that are going to otherwise be red flags for some other inspectors. When they come through, instead of dealing with that pain on the back end of it, they're being proactive about selling, which is always a good idea to be proactive about selling.
Right.
And you can involve an inspector to do that.
Or just keeping up with your general maintenance at home, right? Because if you, like you said, consultation or whatever you want to call it, I'm living here, I may want to sell it or may not. If I choose to sell it 3, 4, 5 years down the road, can you walk through and tell me, I don't want to say what's wrong, but what needs to be addressed?
Yeah, that's right.
So, okay. So, and yeah, that's just fascinating. So, and then the second half of that, if I am an inspector, would you and I see 2 different things in our reports? Or how often do you see, or somebody say, hey, they flagged this, and you're like, why?
Yeah, I mean, there will be some differences from inspector to inspector. Generally, it's going to be in emphasis, tone, and based on some expertise.
Okay.
So I have a lot of background in framing, finishing. I know electrical pretty well.
Okay.
And I don't like plumbing, but I'm good. I mean, I understand plumbing. I understand it's a drain, hot on the left, cold on the right. Drain goes down, stink goes up.
Right.
Payday's Tuesday. Those are the 5 rules of plumbing.
Remember.
But somebody comes from a plumbing background, maybe an ex-plumber became a home inspector, and things like that happen.
Right.
They're gonna know the code. They're gonna look at the drain line itself. They're gonna know the material.
Yeah.
They might put that in the report and say, be super exact about, this came out in 1983. I don't like it because
PVC
of
for this or for that one. We think it's just PVC.
So there's going to be a difference in emphasis.
Right.
But the at the base, at the core of the report, we do have kind of a standard, and it's fairly consistent across the industry about the different major systems in the home. The HVAC, the plumbing, the drainage, the exterior, how to look at the attic, the structure of the home.
Okay.
So all of those things are kind of points where we're all going to have some commonality. And if we're all spending the time in the house, and you mentioned before, a couple hours, I'm in there 3 to 4 hours. You know that.
I just wanted somebody to know, you got no inspection. It's not a blink of an eye. Actually, that is the time. So if you don't mind, so for me as a realtor, I get permission. If I'm representing you as a buyer, I get permission from the other listing agent and the seller to say, hey, please excuse me from this showing. They are with a licensed inspector. Please allow my client to go through, because as a buyer, that is a time where I'm not there and you're not asking me questions and talking to me, but you actually get a one-on-one experience with the inspector. You get to ask, why is this? What is that? And that's when the honeymoon stage, I mean, it's still there, but it kind of pauses. You get to hear the oh shoots or the oh shit. I mean, but you hear it.
Yeah, I do.
And you get to learn about your home. That's why you're in there for hours, because you go through, right?
Well, right. And then, the clients, when they go through, especially in this market, like I keep saying,
man,
there's somebody right behind them with cash waving, right?
Right.
Woo-hoo. They're coming.
And that's really,
So that's how it is. So they're going through in 15 minutes, a half hour. That might be all they get to spend in the home.
Yep.
And it's quick, and they're thinking on their feet, right? And they're making a first impression.
And
everybody knows
emotions involved. Yeah.
We have an animal brain. We got a monkey brain. We're looking at the place, and we're seeing first impressions. We're seeing stuff we love or stuff we really don't like, but we don't know why yet because we haven't absorbed it.
Yeah. So
when you get the chance to go in with your inspector. Now, some inspectors won't tell you to, here I go plugging myself.
Hey, there you go.
Inspectors will tell you not to be there for most of the inspection because they need to concentrate. And they will say, please come at 3:45 until 4 o'clock and we'll do a walkthrough. Now, you're welcome to do that and be there at the very end. I always encourage my clients to be there for whatever portion they want to be and as much as they want to be,
right?
Especially if they're interested. I've had a lot of clients who are, either DIY people or they're planning to be, or they're just interested in the process. And they always find it rewarding to come in and to be in the house, whether they're following me around or whether they get brought a measuring tape. And they're spending time in the house. You get to absorb it. They're, smelling and looking and
correct. Yep.
And finding out, do I really like this place? One, what are we going to do? What's going to be our priority when we move in?
Okay. So, you mentioned something earlier and I want to piggyback. You said this is not a warranty. So what can buyers do to protect themselves from any, those surprises we talked about, 6 months down the road, 5 months down the road? Is there anything they can do as a buyer?
Well, right. Well, for one, read the report. Read the report and do the things that I tell you to do in it. So there's usually a long laundry list of items in there that need to be maintained or repaired,
right,
or replaced. And I'll usually go over that with you in some detail to try to prioritize what needs to be repaired and when.
Right.
Is this urgent? Does it need to be repaired now?
So it sounds like you give hey, this right now needs to be fixed, but here are some things that, they're home issues, right? They're going to come with any home.
Right.
It don't have to be done today, tomorrow, but
read the report. But if you got water that's periodically coming in from bad grading, and it coming in, ebbing in and flowing out, ebbing in and flowing out,
you got to get it done.
You've got to arrest that, right? So let's get that problem solved. So those kinds of things that would turn into bigger problems cost you more money down the road that we'll try to emphasize for people.
All right. Now I want to switch gears, right? This is
then of course. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
So, but of course, they can. I always encourage them to get a home warranty too.
I was going to ask. So,
good. So for items like that, like your appliances, especially your roof, things that I can't see into the future. Again, I don't have X-ray eyes, and I don't have a crystal ball. It's coming, but I don't have a crystal ball yet. I ordered it. But they're still
right now.
They're working on.
We're just going to give you a tilt bracket versus a crystal ball.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever I can work with. But the home warranty can be really a good resting place for your worries.
Right.
That first year, right, or two. I don't know, how long do those warranties last?
Those are renewables every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's negotiable. Most people just do a year.
Right.
Now, and actually speaking negotiation, right? I just want to change but just in case you didn't catch it. So outside of reading his list, the things you can also do to protect yourself, what he was saying is also just adding on a home warranty, which I always, suggest, whether it's negotiated in, you get on your own, whether there's so many ways you can ask, get, or receive a home warranty, but that is, if you didn't get it, a way to protect yourself. So now that you mentioned the word negotiation, so if you've done a lot of inspections, you've done a lot of reports, now seeing so many reports, there are some things that come up that you see often that sellers, when it comes to negotiation, just don't fix. It's a common, regardless what house, what it is. Do you recall or have some of those items like, yes, this needs to be done, but you know a seller's really not going to fix it? What are some of those?
Classic one in our area, especially because we have a lot of brick veneer construction. And you'll see this on the exterior of homes ranging from 20 years old to 100 years old. Is there's a steel lintel over every doorway and window way, and that starts to rust.
Yep.
And that when it starts to rust, it starts to crack the mortar around it. Now, when it's in those beginning stages, it's not really causing leaks. It's not breaking the window. It's not looking saggy or ugly. So is it a defect, right? You know, is anybody going to really fix that? So
right.
I pointed out in the reports, and people understand what it is because they understand that part of their house is rusting and slowly failing, right?
It also holds the garage.
That freaks people out.
Yeah.
So I try to put that in context. I try to help them understand, you know, this is super common. This is not something that's just like some rare disease on your house. Any brick structure that you see in the Cincinnati is going to have, most brick structures are going to have this. And then, but sellers, as far as I know, generally aren't going to address that because it's, how do you address it? What are you going to do? You're going to rip the brick off right now?
Right.
No, you're not going to do that.
All right. So on the flip side, right? What do you see commonly as well? So we know that it's like it has to be done, right? And whether you sell it to this buyer or not, you, Mr. Inspector, I'm the expert here. I'm telling the other expert who's a realtor and the buyer is getting it. This has to be done. What is? I'm asking for your top two because we could probably go down the list, but what
top two are major appliances like your HVAC equipment, I'd guess you could say.
Yep.
Like HVAC and things like that. If it's not disclosed that it's already not working or it's fritzing out, and I discover that, oh yes, you know, I love that. I love finding that for my clients because I know that's a big ticket.
I just had that on my list, and literally the first day it came back to cycling on furnace. I was like, guess my client's gonna have to fix it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep.
So it's big tickets like that generally that really get me going.
Right.
That's why I like.
So now this one, I actually had somebody request, and I'm gonna read this. All right. So once a buyer have their inspection report, now how do you? The question is, how do you recommend they prioritize what's a must fix versus they should plan on fixing after the move in? I want to hear this.
Does it involve water? That's what I always, that's the factor. Does it involve water in any way, shape, or form?
Okay.
That was one of the, another point that I was going to make with, even with the items that do get fixed all the time, are leaks that I discover. So frequently when I'll come in, or frequently, every inspection, if I'm able, if the water is on, I'll run the showers for 15 to 20 minutes, like somebody taking a long shower. And what I do is I look then after, toward the end of the inspection, I'd run the shower at the beginning of the inspection. And then toward the end of the inspection, I will check for leaks with an infrared camera. So sometimes you'll get a drip and a drip and a drip. And it won't come through the ceiling, but it's making it wet in there. And you've probably got some mold growing in there. And I'll be able to detect that. So that in that case, I do have X-ray eyes, but I don't always.
Wow. So now what are some things that you see that's like, all right, this is something you can do after you move in?
Yeah.
It's important.
Right. But so, yeah, any item that involves water needs to be prioritized up front.
Right.
So people say, well, it's just a small leak. I mean, a lot of homeowners get in that habit of saying, it's been a small leak for the last few years. Whew, don't let that slide.
Water is deadly.
Water's dead. Water's the one.
Man, that's one of my fears. Especially if you haven't rectified it.
Right.
I definitely when I read that disclosure, is it a home? Is it transfer warranty? What did you do? But if you just say, because I'm not telling what house, I literally just looked at a report and it said water seepage, heavy rain, backside of the house, only happened once.
Yeah.
And my client
only happened once.
My client wanted to see it, and I was like, well,
yeah,
no. They was like, well, the house is beautiful. As an expert, I'm gonna say no. And they said, why? It's because they didn't say that it was rectified. And just because it happened once, don't mean it can't happen again. And when it happens to you,
we had that last year with whenever we get so much predominantly Western weather. Western weather.
You're right.
Right. So wind comes from the west, wind comes from the south, winds come from the north. We get almost completely that in our Ohio Valley area.
Right.
We almost never get eastern storms, but we do get them. Mm-hmm. And when they happen, you always get leaks. And people say the same thing. They say that every time. It only did that once. It's because your house is broken on that side of the house and you haven't fixed it. Let's fix this. So yeah, that's part of the inspection. And then, but then the other thing that we were talking about, something that an example of a defect that's important. Mm-hmm. And that you do want to fix eventually, and that you're going to want to see. That's the thing. The client's going to want to fix this one. It's the blown window seals. So they go through a house, and you've seen them. Those they look great. They look great. Gray. That's so depressing looking, right? You know what?
Is that frost?
But you know what? That window is keeping out with the weather. It's still insulating to about 90% of its capacity.
See, I didn't know that. I thought once you start getting the frost and the little moisture in the inside,
it really has very little effect on its insulating. Somebody will fight me on that one. But it's a percentage. It's a small percentage. So yeah, that you lose a little bit of efficiency, but not much. And so yeah, you can wait. So that's what I'm saying to people, especially like with older houses, right? Prioritize. If it's not causing a greater problem, like a fogged window isn't causing a greater problem other than you not being able to see out. And you're looking junky,
right? So, do you have any major advice you would give people who are watching today? Your clients, new clients. Anybody who's watching this podcast, what advice would you give them?
Every house is worth looking at. And everything can be fixed.
Okay.
Almost anything that you find can be fixed. So we find problems all the time. Sometimes we find big problems that are at the beginning stages. Sometimes we find small problems that have accumulated over time that look really bad. Mm-hmm. But everything can be fixed. It's all wood, metal, paint, plaster.
Material you can find.
It's all material. Uh-huh. And some things are important at the beginning and some things aren't. And the other thing I would tell people is go to the inspection. Spend some time in the house, whether you're following the inspector around or not. Spend time in the house, and then you'll be outfitted better to ask questions and get better information.
Awesome. So listen, guys, you heard it from the expert yourself. This is my guy, Mr. Tom Deutsch. Again, tell them about yourself. Who are you and how can they get in contact?
My name is Tom Deutsch. You can get in touch with me at DeutschHomeInspection.com or TomDInspections.com. Either one will go to my there. 513-543-1922 is my cell phone number.
All right, and we definitely see the information on the screen. Again, as always, I'm your favorite realtor. Thank you for tuning in to Your House is Key podcast, and we are out. Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Your House is Key with Danelle Shepard. Each week, Danelle dives into essential tips, insider secrets, and expert advice to help you navigate the exciting journey of home ownership and home selling. From understanding market trends and finding the perfect neighborhood to even securing financing, staging your home, and closing the deal, there's only one guy that gets it done. Danelle Shepard, right here at YourHouseIsKey.com.